didn't sign up for a sick wife, but he's mastering the role. Here's what we learned the hard way. Welcome back. If you're coming to my channel, I'm Virginia. I'm a licensed mental health therapist who sees couples, and I was recently diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. Actually, two. Oh, all the fun. I actually asked my husband, reaching over here, to jot down 5 things he learned, just kind of on the fly in terms of what to do with a wife with a autoimmune disorder. So I'm going to read this off and also just kind of fill in here a little bit. I thought about having my husband on here, but he has a job that has requirements in terms of like how you present in the public. And so if you know anything about a Black man, I'm not going to come in between anything in him and his ability to be able to provide for our family. So I know that asking him something like that would put him in a place where he might not feel the most comfortable. So I just asked him to jot it down for me. So got some good dates here. So I'm going to read them for the first one. I have no idea what this man writes. So we'll see what he says. Oh my goodness. Okay. So he says limits his energy for doing normal activities during the day. Okay. 1000%. That is something that I have seen my husband really excel in. And it's excel. Sorry. It is Saturday morning over here. So I was like the Energizer Bunny beforehand. I could do all the things, make all the things happen, you know, go to work, come home, cook, get the kids together, get everybody to bed, shut down the house, wake up the next morning, do it all over again, and make sure he's got a like beautiful meal on the table. And so there's a lot of stuff in terms of not just the day to day that has changed for me, but also specifically with dealing with extended family members and how I show up for my in-laws, my ability to host. I used to host parties in my house at least, let's say, I would say at least once every other month. I don't host anything anymore. And so even when my in-laws come over, they're kind of used to expecting this lovely hostess, Virginia, and she just doesn't exist anymore. I think my camera's a little crooked. I'm going to adjust it just a little bit. Please be patient. Thank you. Okay. That's better, I think. Okay. I'm a recovering perfectionist. All right. So yeah, now my energy, sometimes I tend to get 10 o'clock. I'm on some new supplements and hopefully getting an iron transfusion soon. So a lot of that has shifted. I usually am pretty good till about 2 now. And by 2 o'clock, I'm like, okay, it's time for the bed. I'm good. I'm done. The joke is my husband will say it's 8 o'clock somewhere. And I'm ready to go to bed. I'm climbing in bed. Sometimes 5 o'clock is my average. I just go to bed. So definitely limited energy. And so he's had to pick up a lot of those extra pieces. And I have validated his position in terms of, hey, this sucks. Because these are a lot of those things that I used to do. And now some of that stuff is falling to you, or it's falling to the kids, or it's not happening at all. Or it's not happening as often. And so that's something that's not fun to take a look at, but it's something that I've been adjusting with and he's also been adjusting with. Okay. Let's see here. Missing times for going to do activities outside the home. Yeah, that's a good one. Like I said, I'm reading this in real time. One of the things that we love doing on Saturday mornings is we love to get up and we love to go play pickleball together. And there have been multiple times where we're getting up to go, or I had a rough night, or Friday was a rough day. Thursday, I usually see a longer day of clients. And so sometimes Friday and Saturday, I'm just kind of crashing. And then by Sunday, my body's like just kind of like, up a little bit too. And then I have a lighter day on Mondays. So sometimes by Saturdays, when my family's all home, I'm not able to show up in the way that I normally would. I'm not going to those activities. We also recently went to go hang out with another family, and we went over their house, and I was trying to push the activity as far up, it was on a Saturday, as far up in the day as possible. But the family that we were going to go visit, it just worked better for them for us to meet at 4. It seems okay, we can meet at 4. And they really wanted to have dinner. And I was like, I really appreciate you wanting to have dinner for us. However, I cannot predict what I'm gonna be eating and when, because my food hugely depends upon what's going on in my body and my body's needs. And so, the family that we went over, they said that we did not offend them, but they just insisted upon having food. And we were there for about an hour, and my blood pressure just started dropping. And I was like, "I'm so sorry. I am fading, and I think it's my blood pressure. I just need." And they were like, "What?" I was like, "I'm so sorry. I've got to go get." And so it was the most abrupt, awkward thing in the world. But we got in the car, we said our apologies. Family that we don't know super well, so they don't know, because I look well. I look okay. So um, it is hard for a lot of folks to be able to really come to grasp with what it means when I say that I have an autoimmune disorder, especially later in the evening. My body is just more unpredictable in terms of knowing when I need more rest. So um, yeah, so that was something that we all end up missing. But there are other times where there was a birthday party we were supposed to go to, and I couldn't. I couldn't. So my husband went with one of my kids, and so um, that's hard because again, I'm used to being. Um, I love parties. I love to get-togethers. I love. That's been tripping over my words here. I love being able to be social and do fun things. And so when he has to go and do those things by himself, or he has to go do those things with the kids, that's not a fun experience. I've sat with so many couples who there's one partner that has an autoimmune disorder, and a lot of them have talked about it in the sense of feeling abandoned, where all of a sudden they were this couple, they were able to do all these things, and then one person kind of falls off because of an autoimmune disorder, and that person that's left going to those engagements usually is left with the burden of explaining, and that is not fun. I've seen it cause so many rifts in relationships, and that's not been something that's come up in mine yet. We are securely attached, but it doesn't mean that that's not a place where resentment can still hide, build, and grow. So I actually need to sit down and just talk with my husband about that. He's actually off on a walk right now with my kids and our dog. So I need to sit down with him and talk to him about, hey, do you ever start feeling resentful? Because I'm sure that there are times where you're filling in the blank and asking, answering these questions that are probably super uncomfortable that you would not normally be in a position of answering. So I need to talk with him about that. I need to follow up. So if you're watching this, you have an autoimmune disorder, or you're in a coupled relationship, or even you're not in a coupled relationship, but you have friends, what have you, you may need to talk to them about that, about missing activities outside of the home and how that affects them and just give them some space and not let that be a space where you're kind of jumping in and needing to explain this is a place where we need to be defensive. This is just simply a place of being able to listen and to be able to kind of grieve with our loved ones that, oh my goodness, yeah, things are so different. Um, mm, things are so different now. And I was just sitting here thinking, or if you've had an autoimmune disorder for a long period of time, I was recently diagnosed. But if you've had an autoimmune disorder for your whole life, being able to just kind of grieve, maybe not what was, but what will never be in your friendship or your relationship. So Ooh, back ball. She's still gotta be there. So, but it's important to co-regulate that and to grieve together. And what do I mean by co-regulate? I mean that in popular psychology, a lot of times we like to talk with folks about self-regulate, self-care, self. Okay. We really in the United States and in a lot of the industrial kind of societies have lost the art of co-regulation, which is the process of being able to share an experience with each other. And so with a lot of times with my couples, I talk to them about it in a sense of, have you ever seen an appliance where it's coming to your house and on the bottom of it, there's usually a picture, and the picture will have two people lifting a box, and it usually will have something underneath it saying team lift. And so what that lets you know, this is not a box or thing that you should be moving by yourself. This is something you need at least two people to do. And so I find that happens a lot in our relationship. There are things that emotionally we need to team with. And so autoimmune disease is something we have to team with. It's not something that we are able to deal with in isolation, no matter how much self-regulation you feel like you have and how well you are in that game. Okay, number three, he has on here learning to remove and or reschedule what to put on and off the schedule. Yeah, no, that 100%, 100%. There are, um, sometimes we'll take a look at, okay, what are we going to do this afternoon? And so we have had to move things on and move things off of our schedule 100%. Some of the things that we've moved on and off have even been trips, like to go see family members out of town. We've had to move those things on and off our schedule and postpone things. And it's made a lot of people really disappointed and upset with us. And I'm like, I had to tell you, I got this doctor's appointment, or I don't know what to tell you. They're trying to tell me to do this scan, or I just don't feel well. I don't feel well. And so even in those spots where we have to communicate back to family, that's usually extremely stressful. And so then the next time we're trying to go do the thing, it brings up a lot of stress for me, which increases the chances I'm gonna have a flare up, which increases the chances that I'm also going to disappoint them in the future. So it just becomes this very vicious, awful, ugly cycle. So if you're somebody who has a loved one who has at least one autoimmune disorder, please, 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 as frustrating as that is, as y'all are in that process of team lifting, please know that that person you love and care about also is frustrated, disappointed, upset, and don't do this versus thing in the sense where it's like us versus against them. Um, find a way to be a team about it. Find a way to kind of uplift each other and hold each other in that emotion with some sense of humanity and care. And that will help kind of break that ugly pattern of stress and anxiety and disappointment and flares. Okay. He said this one particularly as a Black man. He said, advising our kids to hold questions until the next day because mom is resting. Uh, oh my goodness, we are new age Black parents in the sense that we allow our kids to ask questions. And so as we're in that process of allowing our kids to ask questions, if other folks in our family see that, they automatically kind of see that as y'all are letting your kids be disrespectful, you're letting them do too much. And so we have allowed them to ask more questions than what we were allowed growing up. Because I feel like there's just a lot going on in the world, and there's a lot that I didn't understand. And so it was helpful for me growing up to be able to have a grown up to be able to sit down and to listen to what I have to say, to answer all the questions. But there's a time and place for everything. And so our kids kind of are these new age Black kids in the sense that they believe that they're entitled to ask a question and to give answers. And so my husband has, come from this almost more authoritative kind of place of look, there's a time to ask questions and there's a time to just stop. Just stop. Your mom is resting. So I get that. And I'm also curious about, again, the burden that that places on him. And I want to make sure that as much as he's showing up for me, I want to be able to show up for him in the ways that he needs to be supported and uplifted and respected. And so that's something else I definitely want to circle back around to. Maybe not all today because I was pretty just asking to do this morning for me. Hey, I'm curious about this. I get asked this question a lot. And so I really appreciate my husband, number one, just taking the time for that because that's something again I'm asking him to do. And I want to be able to be respectful of his mental energy and space, even though he doesn't have an autoimmune disorder. All right, last one he has on here, learning to talk about items before wide rest. Okay, so that's something he definitely has excelled. And when I say excelled at, um, we're both learning this. Neither one of us has been perfect. There's a lot that we are learning. And it seems like this is something that's really important for him in terms of sometimes when he's trying to ask me a thing and I'm in the middle of a flare, my brain just cannot process it. It just can't. And so easily that can look like that's a cop out or that's just me um, not wanting to help him or what have you. But he really does a good job of when I just say, hey, can't. I can't process. I can't think of it. I don't care what happens. He really has done a beautiful job for me of being able to try to talk about, to wait, to hold on to some of those conversations. Or if something wasn't that important, that he's okay to drop it, table it until I'm at a place where I'm out the flare. So I'm not in that sense of brain fog. My brain is able to function. I have more access to my executive functioning. So I really appreciate that because in addition to having an autoimmune disorder, I'm also not neurotypical. And so I can get overwhelmed, things can get switched around in my head. And sometimes I just can't. I was very capable most of the time. Sometimes I just can't. So I really appreciate that he does that and he's really leaned into seeing how to do that. But these are just things that we're learning on the fly. I wanted to get his point of view. I'm so grateful just for him taking that time and being able to help me understand. And so that's something that I think is really important to you. If you're asking your loved one, excuse me, to share, and that this is not a place of going back to go and attack, of gathering information so that we can be defensive. This is a place of being able to, um, I've heard it said almost kind of like in the grieving spaces, being like a heart with ears. I am literally just here to receive, to listen, and to care for the person who is sharing. And so some of those things, it's just kind of like laughing through. And some of those things are just hard. Like I said, leaving that family's house, that was hard. So you're going to find different ways and things that are coming up for your family that are going to throw you curveballs. Like me planning to go hang out with drunks and because my blood pressure was just dropping. So have a little bit of patience for yourself. Have a little bit of patience for your partner. And my hope is that we all find ways of navigating this better. I'm consistently hearing more and more folks saying, oh my goodness, Virginia, I have an autoimmune disorder. Or, oh my goodness, I was just diagnosed. Or, oh my goodness, my provider thinks that I may have an autoimmune disorder. Folks, we are experiencing more and more of this as time goes on, and there's lots of theories in terms of why that is. So we all have to find ways of being able to slow down and being able to take care of each other as we're in this process of just trying to figure out all the things. So my name is Virginia. I'm a licensed mental health therapist. And, I really hope that you do something today to take really good care of yourself and something today that also holds the humanity of those in your life. Thank you.